The latest revision of third quarter US GDP figures were pretty disappointing, with growth downwardly adjusted by a whole 0.5%. At the same time, the so-called supercommittee, who were given the job of trimming at least $1,200 billion off the deficit, have again reached deadlock, with no deal on the immediate horizon. To discuss the US economy, I'm joined by Martin Schwerdtfeger, who is a senior economist at TD Bank Financial Group. Thanks for joining me, Martin. What do the latest GDP figures tell us about the US economy?
Well, the second estimate came out weaker than the first estimate by around 0.5% on annualized terms. And basically the revisions were mostly from lower private inventory investment and weaker non-residential fixed investments, and also weaker personal consumption. So what that tells us overall is that the aggregate demand in the U.S. is a bit weaker than what we saw when the first estimate came out.
We've all been so focused on the situation in Europe in recent weeks, but how big a threat to the global economy is the slowdown of US growth?
Well, the issue with the U.S. economy, this is actually nothing new. We got a bit excited after the first estimate of GDP because it appeared that the U.S. economy was regaining a bit of a stronger footing. Now, the figures that are out today pretty much confirm what we were expecting. The U.S. economy is going to continue to grow at a very moderate pace. That based on the assumption that things in Europe are not going to deteriorate very sharply. Now the situation in Europe is very unstable, of course, and any turn for the worse in financial conditions in Europe will eventually impact the U.S. economy. And of course, if you take those two main advanced economies, the Eurozone and the U.S., and you compare them against the impact that they will have on global economic activity, that is a very negative outlook.
The figures were revised down from 2.5% to 2%, but it's still quite enviable growth when compared to countries like Italy, the UK and France. Will the US manage to maintain these rates of growth?
Well, yes, we are confident that the U.S. economy will continue to grow at this very moderate pace. Now, I understand that when you compare the U.S. figures to what we are seeing in Europe overall, U.S. growth is much stronger. Now, if we think about the unemployment rate in the U.S., currently around 9%, this pace of growth, of economic growth, will not be enough to bring that unemployment rate down significantly over a relatively short period of time. So it is growth, it's positive growth, and that is a positive outcome, but it's not nearly enough to improve the unemployment situation.
Let's turn our attention to the supercommittee. How critical could the failings of the supercommittee be for the US economy?
Well, now we are against the clock again, and until mid-January of 2012, they will need to find somewhere to impose cuts. They will need to find some agreement. Otherwise, automatic cuts will be triggered beginning on 2013. And if those automatic cuts are triggered in 2013, and then also the boost tax the books tax exemptions are restricted to the original levels, and the payroll exemptions that the Obama administration passed a few months ago are reversed. That overall could have an impact of around 3% of GDP on the U.S. economy, so a very significant drag on economic activity. We do not expect this to materialize because eventually they would need to find some agreement on how to plan for tax increases and spending cuts that are going to be more backloaded, so in order to reduce the initial impact now that the U.S. economy is so weak. But again, there is going to be a lot of financial volatility associated with this, because the failure of the supercommittee, if anything, it highlights how dysfunctional U.S. politics has become.
Well, that's all for the moment, but we'll keep the quality interviews and analysis coming here on Dukascopy TV. Goodbye.